and blue are coming at you straight off the cuff. Here with Lieutenant Hannell, and we've got episode 21 about to kick off here on a cold February day here in 2025.
Little chilly.
Good afternoon to you.
How are we doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a little bit. We had some holidays. We had some busy times here. We've had some good and we've had some bad. We're ready to get back on the air and kind of share with our viewers where we've been at, what's the new challenges, and we've also got a special double guest experience again for some of the viewers that maybe don't remember. In the past, we've done a double guest before, so we're going to kick that thing off later.
Yep, that last one we had was Jesse Cᴜғɣ and Taylor Peters, and they kind of knocked it out of the park with that. So we kind of drew into our talent bin here a little bit, and we got. I think everybody's going to really enjoy it. It's I don't want to spoiler alert. We'll save it we'll let it percolate a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, so we had talked in prepping for what we had going on here. Like we said, we've been busy. I think people have seen it in some news articles, and we've been active with our Facebook posts and with some different things. But the city has been busy. I think people have been feeling it. Let's go back to December. Our last episode was right before Thanksgiving. Let's go back to December, and I think our community really was dealt a couple of tragedies.
Right. One
of which really hit home for us here. At the end of the last podcast, too, we even talked about him. We gave him a shout out. But unfortunately, Officer Cooper Craig passed away, and we attended his funeral. So that took a toll on us here. And we had a beautiful funeral service, and we got to be a part of that. So we just there's nothing to say. Cooper was such a special guy to a lot of us here. Really wore that patch and wore our uniform with the highest of honors that we could have ever asked anybody to do. And yeah, it was that was a tough thing for us here. And
definitely. And our thoughts are obviously with the family. Always will be with the family. Cooper's one of us. He always will be. We retired his badge number 499, so he'll be that in perpetuity here with us there too. But yeah, a very very beautiful moving service. Show some really good last respects, and he's definitely always going to be in our memories.
Yeah, absolutely. School system also dealt a blow, similar in tragedy nature, where we had the tragic passing of Cece in the school system, and our SROs had their hands in that. So it was just kind of right before that holiday season. We were just kind of dealt with a couple of gut punches. Then we battled through the holiday season, and we're got a new budget cycle here. Working through some legislators right now are in session, and they're working bills and they're passing things. We're keeping our eyes on that stuff. We had another project kick off where we'd been waiting. We had submitted some grant work, and we got Marathon actually was really good to us and gave us some grant money, and we've updated our interview room system. Mike, if you want to kind of chat about what we've done there.
Right. Yeah. And this just goes at a greater topic of community partnerships that we have with a lot of businesses, some local citizens, getting some of these big ticket items that we really can't encumber on a regular budget line item. In our interview room system, it was archaic, to say the least. It was installed when we first moved into our building up here in 2015. It probably served its purpose for the first couple of years, but then fast forward 10 years later, which is an eternity in tech terms in a tech timeline, and it was doing stuff we really didn't like it to do, like not record. So it was important that we found a solution pretty quick. And since we're already really deep into the Axon ecosystem, which is our body cameras, our in-car videos, they also have a product for specifically for the interview room system. So we began to do some research. You're spearheading that one, and identifying what it would cost and kind of doing the will and deal on that. But then ultimately, Marathon did come through. They've been really great partners on a lot of different projects in the past. We do appreciate their support and their assistance on that. And 2 weeks ago,
we've been live for about 2 weeks now.
They flew a company up, and they did all the installing. And so this is going to really assist our officers and detectives even better. Not only that we know we're capturing our evidence, but it's also going again into that Axon ecosystem. We're not having to go different places to find our digital evidence to forward up to our prosecutors for that stuff.
Yeah, makes life with records and with our new property evidence technician, state's attorney's office, city attorney's office. It just makes their life a little easier when the systems work and flow and you're not actually clicking around trying to figure out what program to download or how to pull a file. I think my favorite part of our last system, when you talk about it being archaic, was it had a tendency, I think we identified it during generator testing times, where the system would actually kick on and start recording, and we had captured a spot, what was it, 3 o'clock in the morning or so, and Sergeant Mike Hansen happened to be in the hallway and watched the light kick on that it was actively recording. So we've got Mike Hansen wandering around like there was a ghost inside the building.
Yeah. So yeah, either it's haunted up here or there's just a massive technical glitch. So one of the two.
Yeah, another big win that we had. We're not live with it yet, but we had gotten news here within the past 10 days, I think it's been, was that we're going to be awarded from BCI an upgrade to our current Cellbrite system. And this one was huge. We've been talking about this and trying to get a budget item on this. And I guess I'll let you're a little bit more tech savvy than I am. I'll let you kind of talk about what does this look like and how much dollars this is saving taxpayers here in Dickinson.
Sure. Yeah. So Cellbrite is a piece of technological equipment we use to download cell phones and potentially, if they're locked, potentially bypass those locks. It's a very powerful tool. We utilize it in concert with search warrants and the such of that. But it is a very, very expensive piece of equipment for a local municipality to be able to pick that up. Again, that's one of those that is a bit of a heavy lift on that. However, with our relationships that we have, thanks to, in particular, Lieutenant Lyons, who has some federal connections. He is a special task force agent with the FBI. He was able to, through his wheeling and dealing, and able to ultimately get more or less a free.
So we basically had the basic version of this.
Yep.
We could do simple tasks, and we had a certain number of those simple tasks. If we couldn't, we tended to have to send our phones, our electronic devices, to Bismarck and even farther than Bismarck in certain situations where we're trying to unlock evidence. A lot of the times these are connected to, we're talking about major cases where we have real victims here, whether we're talking about sexual assaults, we're talking about violent crimes. Yep. We're trying to unlock pieces of evidence to be able to gain to our case file. So we now are going to be able to have that capability to do it right here in-house in our own ID lab, which is going to be huge.
Right, and like you said, it's either that or we ship it off, and that turnaround time, it takes time. We don't have that in-house, so just having that locally, not a lot of departments can be afforded this. So we're very grateful for that, and it'll help shorten up the time turnaround on cases, I think.
Yeah. I think the last thing that we can chat about before we jump off and introduce our guests here would be we've kind of talked about this project back in administration. I mean, probably even back when I was a patrol lieutenant, I think is the first time that we pitched this idea. And we're like, man, if we could just kind of get some type of a small group of guys to really go and tackle specific problems. Right. Wouldn't have to be a permanent location of a team resources. We had talked in this podcast before. We're watching crime trends move in a direction that we didn't like. We're seeing more violent crime. That got notated even in these past stories with the press. They pulled some body cam video footage of us, of our officers, arriving on scene down on Villard Commons, and they're working a situation on a Sunday morning where there had been a stabbing, and it's just chaos, really. When the viewers are looking at it, it's chaos. And we were trying to think, like, what can we do? How can we start to impact this in a positive way for that neighborhood, for the people that are living in that area? We already have a neighborhood watch that's been off the ground, and we've been working with that neighborhood. We wanted to give some more police resources. So what we did, we kind of selected some individuals that had some specialties in, whether it be like warrant searching, gang intel gathering, and had a passion to want to try to help solve this project. Talked to their supervisors, and we got our first, we called it our POP team. There's probably much better names out there than a POP team, but we were problem-oriented policing.
Yep.
And we had a problem. We wanted to put some resources towards it with a directive, and they've been excellent. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that they've been accomplishing things faster and quicker than what we could have even expected them to. We're talking about attacking areas that need police resources, whether it be overparked vehicles, whether it be animal complaints, noise complaints, whether this is drug activity. We just basically gave these individuals a task and told them, modify your hours, but make a positive impact into these communities by reducing the amount of nuisances that are there. And it's been fantastic to watch the fruits of their labor.
Exactly. Because on patrol, we attempt to do that as best we can on a proactive basis, but a lot of times we're bound by the phone. Whatever's coming into dispatch, we have to respond to those. It's very much a reactive model, and thankfully with our staffing, which by the way, we're officially the highest we've ever been staffed currently at Dickinson PD. We have one potentially in background right now, and we're only 2 spots from being 100% full staff. So it's amazing that we're there. We got an incredible crew of men and women here right now. It's the team atmosphere and the team feeling that we have right now, and everybody bringing their unique set of skills and talents and experiences to the table here. It's really afforded us to be able to morph into this pop team that a lot of other larger cities are doing, really directed into a specific area or a specific problem. And just coming up with solutions instead of just having to be reactive and just taking the call and go, take the call for that day, but then that's where it lays. So these 2 officers in particular, like you said, they've been doing a phenomenal job, and I think we're seeing pretty definitive results right out of the gate here.
Yeah, it's individuals who want to specialize in something and sending them off into a task, and I guess that's a good segue, I guess, into what we can kind of talk about today. And we talked about what would be a good idea that we really haven't touched on for our guests or brought into the world and gone deep into it. And it's kind of that. It's kind of the specialized piece. And what we're talking about is we're talking about SWAT. We've got 2 guys here that we're going to introduce that. Their stories probably couldn't have been any further apart before law enforcement, but now as they've gotten inside of law enforcement, I mean, I don't know that their career paths could be any more aligned as far as what their focal point are, as what their passion is, and their pride. And we got 2 individuals here. We got Senior Officer Andy Stidham, and we've got Senior Officer Alex Schroeder here that are going to be our guests here today. So welcome and thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
We're going to test your editing skills today.
Yeah, I hope not. It'd be a first. No, you guys are one-shot wonders, I'm sure.
So let's do this. So the theme of today is going to be wrapped around SWAT. But just so that the viewers can kind of get to know you guys a little bit, let's jump into each one of you. Let's just start with Andy. Andy, if you would, just kind of go into where are you from, kind of what brought you into law enforcement, and then talk a little bit about kind of what brought you or what your passion is here at the PD.
Yep. Let's see. Well, growing up as a kid, I had no desire really to be in law enforcement. That didn't start until I was in my middle 20s, about 24. Met an individual. I started working at the sheriff's office. He kind of got me on board. He's a sergeant there. Started working as a jailer at the Cincinnati jail there at Hamilton County Justice Center is what it's called.
OHIO.
Yep, OHIO.
Congratulations, by the way, on your national championship.
Yes, it's always a good victory. Didn't like where I would eventually end up. Seen a lot of grumpy old folks on patrol. Just another cog in the gear, just another badge number. The individual what really wasn't there. Mass applied everywhere. At the time, I was going to the police academy in Ohio, working to get, they call it the gun belt. Ended up coming out here for an interview just on a whim. Met Taylor Peters. He's the one that kind of hassled me out here, and been out here since, and no regrets.
So it's been, I mean, you're coming up on 7 years.
Yep.
So you're starting your 7th year in 25. So you're not a new guy anymore. I mean, you're very much so. You've been tried and true. You've been around the block for a little bit. What's kept you here? What do you like about? I mean, you mentioned a little bit about the individual piece was lacking where you were from, but what here at Dickinson PD has kept Andy locked in?
Initially coming out here, it was, hey, we want you. Like, we want you out here. That's good stuff. We want good people here. And if they took a chance on me because they want good people, I know the people that are also here are just the same. They want to be here. So that piece really spoke out. It's a nice area. It really is. Winters are a little bit more harsh than they are in Ohio. That was coming right out of the gate. I started here in August, and then boom, hit winter, completely by surprise. Going through the years up till now, bought a house here, met a lady here, engaged now. It's just all good things, and I don't think I would have had that kind of life in Ohio. So,
yeah, excellent. let's go to your right, my left. And I didn't even know it until you said it, but I think we have a connection here also with Taylor Peters. He's kind of the recruiter in the room here that kind of helped bring Andy here.
He's won a lot of toasters.
He's going to have bread makers for days here. So we've got Alex Schroeder here, Senior Officer Alex Schroeder. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and kind of the same thing, kind of like we talked about, your path was different. I mean, Andy didn't know he wanted to be, but kind of started feeling that route out with the jail, and we took a different route. We took a little bit of a rip route from Yellowstone.
Yeah, almost by accident. Ended up in law enforcement, all thanks to Taylor Peters. Born and raised in Dickinson. Graduated high school. Ended up farming and ranching, working for several different outfits up in the northern part of the state. And I came back to Dickinson when my niece was born, rekindled with Taylor. We were good buddies in high school. And it sounds almost too simple. As sitting at his house, sitting on his couch, he's telling me his favorite cop stories about how wonderful his career has been, and he just brought his computer to me with the application pulled up. And we thought it was a good idea at the time to just fill it out and send it. And I got lucky because I sent it wrong. It was blank. I ended up having to do it again. And here we are. And it was almost unintentional that we found ourselves in the profession, but I've been fortunate, and it's been a blast ever since.
Because you started at a very unique time, Alex. I mean, like, you kicked off. I mean, we even talk about COVID being at any more of a height. I mean, wasn't it April of 2020? I mean, it was just right as we were all starting to figure out, like, how and what is this thing. We're here inside the DPD, we were trying to figure out, like, how do we train, how do we interact with citizens, like, what is this thing yet? And that's your introduction to law enforcement is right there, kicked in the pants.
Yeah, a couple months into the lockdown, yeah, we had to do an improvised process in the hiring process, even for coming in and doing our interviews, going through our background checks. All of that looked different, and so I was figuring it out at the same time you guys were. But the whole initial process was different, even up to the academy. We had different rules as far as COVID went, and yeah, it was a challenge, to say the least, for everybody.
Yeah. So like we said, we would get us back to the topic. We would really want to talk to you guys about is the SWAT team. Dickinson has had a regional SWAT team since 2004. That team is not just here at us at the Dickinson Police Department. We do house a lot of our equipment here. We do house a lot of gear here. You two right now are intricate to this team. Realistically, you guys are kind of the cornerstone right now, built around this team. And these guys really look to you. You guys have been on the team for years now. Almost those in those leadership roles where guys are looking to you at training to see how you operate, see where you guys are at. So that's kind of the focus of our conversation we want to have. But what did you guys know you wanted to be in SWAT? When you guys jumped on, you guys have talked about your path already, but once you get into law enforcement, did you know that there would be a tactical element or a SWAT element to what you guys wanted?
I wanted to be in negotiations when I started, thanks to Taylor. He was on the negotiations team at the time, and he sold it very well. Made it sound like it was the coolest thing you could do when we were watching movies of just the greatest hostage situations you can imagine. After working here for about a year, I got to see more of what the SWAT team did, and that started looking like a lot more fun, a lot more up my alley than sitting in a air-conditioned or well-heated vehicle a long ways away from the incident.
Yeah. How about you, Andy? Was it something that when you got into the world, I mean, you've kind of always, you came to us with a passion that this was kind of your drive. How about you? Was your angle different?
Yeah, my first experience in the SWAT realm ever was going to the range when I was in the police academy in Ohio and seeing the SWAT team there, just seeing them do their stuff. I can't even tell you what they were doing, but just walking around and being part of that crowd, and I was like, wow, that'd be something really cool to be a part of. Move here to Dickinson, start the job. Sergeant Mike Hansen, at the time corporal, was my trainer. He was on SWAT, and same thing. I would be in the gym just seeing them walk by on training days, and I'm like, wow, I really want to be part of that team.
And you have a unique perspective on top of that too, with your National Guard experience too. You want to kind of do just a little sidebar on that as well?
I did the National Guard right out of high school. Started as a combat engineer, young and dumb and blow stuff up. Sounded fun. After that, I did what's reclassification to military police, or MP. I did 1 year or a duty station at Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay. A lot of good experiences there, and then came back here, started back on patrol.
So the one unique thing we have is, like we said, this team got started in 2004. We're lucky enough we've got the second team commander. I mean, in Lieutenant Handel, I think you have the record, I want to say, in digging through any file that we possibly could find on this SWAT team. There's no way that somebody could rival the amount of years of service you've put into the team. But go into detail, whether it wanted to be Lieutenant Handel to kind of address this, or even one of you two, if you guys want to talk. You hear sometimes where, well, we're not that big of a community. What would you possibly need the SWAT team for? Why would you guys need a piece of equipment like the Bearcat, or why would you need these things? And we have examples. We talked a little bit on our last episodes of some of the situations, even the end of last year. You two were on scene at one of them, and Lieutenant Handel and I were on scene at one of them, where it's a good example to give the citizens. But the SWAT rollout every day, and kind of just if you want to just discuss what is the reason that we have a regional SWAT team here, I'll let either one of you jump onto that piece.
As sad as it may sound, there are unfortunately people out there that want to do harm to people, and that's just the reality we live in. Thankfully, we live in an area where that doesn't happen very often. That's the purpose of the team. For those times when those people do need to go into custody, and it is a bit, the danger level could be of a certain threshold that's just a bit beyond patrol's capacity. And that's why we have equipment like the up-armored Bearcats, we have our Humvee, and the special equipment, more body armor, and that's where we come into play to try to resolve it safely in the best solution possible.
Do you want to briefly do like an overview of the main NTOA recognized types of callouts we potentially be training for, or you want to take that one, Alex?
For our area specifically, it's a lot of barricaded subjects, and we saw recent examples of this on several occasions. And the majority of what our SWAT team has dealt with has been our barricaded subjects. We can pick up the pace from that. We get into our hostage situations. For us and our team, we are prepared and ready to do crisis hostage rescue. When it comes to a deliberate, that's where you call in they call them tier 2 or tier 1 teams, where they have a bit more resources to be able to do the deliberate entries. We need to talk about explosive breaching, and some of those other items where we can operate and we have to go right now type of moment.
Yeah, that brings up a good point, and I agree with you. Barricaded subjects, historically, even through the years when Lieutenant Handel and I were on the team, those typically were our major ones. It was those, or it was high-risk search warrants, things that we just didn't feel like sending in a typical uniformed body into handling a search warrant would be a wise idea. But the barricaded subjects, for anybody that wouldn't know, can you describe what exactly is a barricaded subject for just like our casual listener?
If I were to explain to somebody for the first time, it's someone who is in a lot of trouble and they're sitting in their house and they are not going to come out.
Yeah, nope, that's an exact way to put it. And we had a situation, 2 of them actually, almost back to back, at the end of 24, where we had individuals that were under arrest. I mean, there was clear lines. They had committed violent crimes. They were under arrest, did not want to leave their residence. This is kind of where SWAT comes. I mean, the situation just becomes almost unsafe even for the community, neighbors around it, bystanders, and things like that to handle just in patrol capabilities. So when you're looking at it from a SWAT team, what are some of the things that you're trying to put into your mind when you're going to a barricaded subject, Andy? Like what is something that you're trying to think of, or something that you're trying to do as you're getting on scene?
The biggest thing, we both recently got back from a team leader school. The biggest thing is containment. That's probably the biggest goal that you want checked when you get on scene. Is my situation isolated to this one location? And then you can start working your problem.
Which is critical for patrol resources. So like our patrol officers, they're going to be 9 times out of 10, it's our patrol officers that'll be the first ones on scene. I mean, the sheriff's office at times is in town and they can jump on stuff also. But out of your guys' crews, you guys don't work on the same shift right now, but you guys are on sister shifts. So one of you, good morning, the other one, good afternoon. But like, how much resources do you guys have, and how good has patrol gotten over the years at being able to kind of prep a scene for SWAT, or even to resolve some of these situations before they become like high risk? Like, Andy, I know that your shift right now that you're running, you had talked about Mike Hansen. He's the sergeant on your guys' crew. I mean, when a lot of people talked about the SWAT world, Mike Hansen was kind of one of those guys they looked to, and he was kind of one of those figures that everybody kind of just liked what he did in the SWAT world. But your guys' crew, like, how well equipped do you feel containing and then controlling a situation, preparing for SWAT?
Yeah, feel confident enough to at least hold this scene for more resources. Absolutely. Any one of us on our shift would follow Mike Hansen anywhere he needed to go. He's probably going to look back at this and just laugh. But going into it, we have a lot of SWAT people on my shift particularly. We have a couple newer guys there on the team as well. And they're always eager, showing up to the training so that way they can better patrol. Because no matter what happens, patrol will always be there first to the situation. So I can pass this off to here to Alex in a second, but we've started a new trend on SWAT where we do our normal trainings and we take a little 5-minute segment of that to bring it back to our shifts and to make sure that like there's no secret sauce. I want everyone to have all these skills, whether it's clearing a room, whether it's using equipment. Just, again, there's no secret sauce here. I want everyone to know what we know, just so everyone can be safer. Yeah,
that's excellent. And I guess what I'm talking about when it comes to patrol coming on scene is, I think SWAT probably even when Hannel, when you would have started, SWAT maybe was a different world. It was a different beast.
It is night and day from where it's come. Yeah.
You know, a different beast to where when patrol is arriving on scene, there's a different methodology to what these guys are doing right now. When you have Andy talking about containment being a priority, not that containment wasn't a priority, but there was a little bit more cowboy. Probably that was taking place. Probably a little bit more cowboy in the
Very
patrol
much
world.
so.
Definitely more cowboy in the SWAT world. But I think what Andy kind of outlines there is SWAT now is starting to use their brain a whole lot more than using a boot or using other tools. And I guess if you want to jump into that, Alex, as to just how have you noticed and how have you seen, how is SWAT different from maybe what you thought growing up? Like, this is what a SWAT guy does, to now being that guy and trying to solve these problems. What is the difference?
Difference in philosophies. Even when I started showing interest in the SWAT world, at that time was when that big transition was taking place from the old speed, surprise, violence of action. And I thought it was going to be a lot of breaking down doors and running and gunning. As we've seen the shift nationwide as well, it's slowed down a lot. We're doing a lot. Our tactics are being done intentionally instead of trying to rush through anything now. And so as simple as it may seem, even the room clearing tactics are getting slowed way down. The dynamic entries aren't getting trained as much anymore. They have to be there for when you need them, but the new ideas such as limited penetration tactics, slow and controlled search tactics are being brought forth in training way more.
Yeah, and I think it's that type of training, I think, that's really, maybe we can see it in our call-out numbers to a certain degree. I mean, policing itself has really changed. I mean, I remember some of my first call-outs I ever went on the SWAT team back in 2012. It was an individual in his house that was by himself, that was making suicidal comments, that was armed. That was enough 12, 15 years ago that the SWAT team would come out because we thought that was the resources that individual needed at that time, to where it's like now if I were to say that to you guys would be shaking your head and looking like, what kind of a decision is that? Those are the differences. That's what we're talking about now, is this. SWAT's decisions now are very calculated. They're very methodical. Where the vehicle gets parked, when the phone calls get made, those are the types of things that almost are just a force multiplier for SWAT, especially with our team. We talked about it. It's not Dickinson's team. It's a regional team. So we are able to draw on other agencies, but what does the numbers look like right now currently as we sit on the SWAT team? Like, how many operators does the region that we are operating in have?
So we have 5 coming from outside counties. We have 1 in Stark County, 3 out of Dunn County, and 1 out of Hettinger County, just on the tactics side. On the negotiations, there are Stark County, all the way. There's one that comes all the way up from Bowman, even.
Yeah.
So we're starting to open it up a little bit, and touch on a couple of things you mentioned. One of them being is our tactics-wise is we've put a lot more emphasis on our priorities of life, and that's something that we've been working into the patrol side a lot more. What Andy had mentioned, bringing little micro trainings back to patrol with us. As the year started, we had our team meeting. We put a big focus on leadership, and a lot of almost everyone in the room can unanimously agree on the philosophies of leadership that we want to push forward. We want to bring that back to us on patrol. We don't want to have any secrets. We don't want to prevent anybody else from getting better. And so if we can bring a little slice back to bring everybody else up to speed with us, because you guys hit the nail on the head. Patrol's going to be there first. They're going to be the ones that are probably going to have to contain, and they're still going to be there for the duration of the call-out. The SWAT team shows up in full capacity or not, they're still a vital piece to any SWAT call-out.
So you mentioned the concept of safety life priorities or life priorities. I think the citizens especially would be very interested to kind of maybe deep dive that just a little bit more, to kind of maybe they can kind of see our how that affects our thought process a little bit, is both on patrol and on SWAT especially.
We call it HIPS. So you have your what's most important all the way down to evidence being on the very bottom. So your H in HIPS is your hostages. Your I is going to be your innocent people. P is going to be your police, fire, EMS, and then S is going to be your suspects. And below there, they don't even belong in the acronym, is your evidence. And so we try to, when I say that we're being more calculated now, we try to utilize that in our decision making. So if we don't have a hostage, nor do we have an innocent civilian, if it's just down to us and the suspect, are we doing everything we can to protect ourselves? And that's where a lot of these tactics are starting to get pushed aside a little bit. If we're running and gunning through a house, but it's just us and a suspect, we're putting ourselves at a risk that we might not need to be. Or
for that matter, dope or guns. And I remember just a couple weeks ago, I was out of Georgia or something like that. There was a judge had gotten a weed eater stolen from him, and so they issued a search warrant. Their SWAT team went to go collect this weed eater from this guy. So, of course, the worst thing that could possibly happen is they ended up hitting the wrong house, wrong address, which goes into maybe you can do a deeper dive of what it takes to pre-plan events and stuff like that. Maybe cover that. But yeah, I mean, if we don't do it right and by the book, and if we don't have this methodical way of critical thinking and assessing threats and constantly adapting to that, people die. And especially in this case, in that particular, the innocent person died that not even the right address. So,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that can kind of springboard into what it looks like when if you get a call, or if you get presented a let's say a high risk search warrant, a high risk arrest warrant. What are you guys doing to spin up? What are some of the things that you guys are thinking about?
Well, it starts to look a lot different now. You were talking about evidence and narcotics side. I did a rotation in the narcotics task force, and from SWAT to the narcotics side, it's a completely different world, because the only thing we are after is that evidence, is that dope in the task force. And so trying to apply two separate philosophies of the same problem can be extremely difficult, and do exactly what you're talking about. When these call-outs, from the inception, what does it look like? If we have a high-risk call-out for narcotics, we're going to start addressing it very differently on the SWAT side than we ever did on the task force side. If we get for a high-risk search warrant for simply an individual, those are where we can pump the brakes, find out where they're at, and we have time to start making sure that we're going to keep ourselves safe. If we get our immediate action call-outs, we almost had one recently with a hostage situation where we almost didn't have 20% of the details that we needed. We were just getting up and getting going because we had to be somewhere quick, fast, and in a hurry.
So I guess that's an excellent point. So just because we're using our brain and we're processing these things, it doesn't mean that we can't go fast. You know what I mean? Because the team, you think about from the patrol arriving on scene, how fast can we start introducing SWAT tactics and SWAT elements into solving problems? What is a time frame that I guess would be reasonable?
If I'm not mistaken, there's SWAT people on every shift. At least getting armor to a scene, that won't take but any time at all. It just takes someone driving back to the office to grab it.
So nearly immediately.
Absolutely.
In each of our patrol cars also, we've got the capabilities for some hard plates, we've got breaching equipment, we've got the ability for somebody to come back, like you talked about, get a piece of armor. We have the Bearcat currently in-house, and we have a Humvee. We could grab an extra piece of armor equipment if we wanted to, but just because we're talking about this thing being slower, the safety of life priorities, and I thought Alex did a great job explaining what that safety of life priorities were called. And I guess it was taught to me in the past that if you're making a decision, who's benefiting and which direction of that arrow, which direction is the arrow going? Because like we talked about in the hypothetical situation of us going on scene to somebody who was suffering from a mental illness and had a handgun, in which way are we benefiting as the police officers going inside of this house or breaching the door in any kind? And like that's where things have changed, and we've decided to do things smarter, even for search warrants and your tactics you talk about. You guys do so much planning. We have our own intel analysts here, but you guys, as the SWAT team, are also almost specialists in things like this, where you guys are putting together massive amounts of time and effort on something. If you know that there's a high-risk search warrant, that the team is going to go out, you don't want there to be a stone that's going to be unturned. So like that type of effort you guys are putting into planning for an operation is massive. If you kind of want to go into, like, how long would you like to have a target house or a file or something like that if you're going to be sending the team into there? How much time would it take you?
As much time as possible, because again, like you said, I don't want to leave a stone unturned. If I can go back to a personal example, we had an overdose in town. Then we ended up tracking where the drugs came from. Tricky about it, the house was in close proximity to an elementary school. So planning the actual hit on the house or serving the search warrant on the house with a school in close proximity, a lot of things you got to check the box. You obviously don't want to do it around school hours. You want to try to do it on the weekend, and then making sure you have the numbers and the resources to get it all done. Thankfully, that scenario ended up working out beautifully as best it could. So.
I love the example that you just walked us into. So that, not only everything that you just said, what else was unique about that residence?
It's
not a single-family home.
No, multi-dwelling complex.
Multi-dwelling complex with how many residents inside of the one that we were actually looking to go into? How many people were inside there?
I think 3.
3. Yeah. 3 is what we were being told, which we always have a plus one multiplier at least, you know. So you start looking at these, and these become tricky because not only does Andy want to know, well, exactly what unit am I looking at? And then what unit, how do I get there to this unit? But then it's, okay, you have 3 people that you know of. What do they drive? Who are these people? What are they capable of? Like, we're just trying to get as much information as possible. So that's where some of this specialized training and some of the stuff that you guys are given goes into. Which leads me into the next question that I have for you. And let's let Alex jump on this one first. But so obviously there's an onboarding period. You have a police academy. You've got an FTO period. You become a patrol officer. You get a lot of food to eat, and it takes some time to get good at the patrol officer side of things. What about SWAT? What's the world of SWAT as far as training and certifications and makeup or even qualifying to be on the team? What does that look like?
So I was fortunate enough to be the guinea pig for a new idea for SWAT. And I think you were still, Lieutenant Hannah, you were still sitting in the commander spot, and you were working your way in at the time. And so we decided to try a year-long probationary period before setting off for SWAT Basic. And so I had the luxury of trying that out. I got to come in and be a part of the team for a year on a probation status. Went up to SWAT Basic. Upon completion of SWAT Basic, came back as a full deployable member of the SWAT team. So it was a good test run. It seemed to work out. We've been using it ever since. We still use it now. It's a good way to get the new operators on the team comfortable being around the team, comfortable around the style of training and the pace of training before sometimes we have make the decision that it's not for them. So
Yeah.
before we spend all of our time and energy and resources into a new operator, we give them an idea to see if this is something that they really do want to do.
So Andy, Alex mentions all the training that goes into it. What does the team look like? How much training are you guys doing outside of everything else that you guys are doing as a police officer?
So we have training twice a month, 96 hours a year is what we're shooting for every year. There's pistol marksmanship, there's rifle, there's shield work, there's we just had courtroom testimony. So some of the stuff isn't flashy like you would see with SWAT. When you see the name SWAT, it's all out there with stars, but there are some reports, documentation that you have to do, and then there's also the fun stuff like shooting with your gas mask. We do have a yearly PT test, and these are all standards that everybody has to keep and uphold to be on the team.
So the four of us in this room are aware of this, but I don't know that a lot of our viewers or listeners would have any idea. But one thing that I think all of us here have a special place for is this SWAT team. You don't get anything additional for it. This is really an intrinsic thing. The guys that are doing this and the girls that have done this, it's all just a sense of duty, a sense of pride, a sense of just wanting to give back to the community, wanting to do extra. Alex Schroeder doesn't get any additional pay, no additional title, no additional anything for all of the work, all of the requirements. The PT test that you guys talk about, is it different than the PT test that you have to do at the academy?
Yeah, it's a little more job specific on our end, especially for us and being our regional team. I think it was created by somebody in-house, designed for us and some of the things that we're going to go through. So it is a group of people who just want to be there for the critical incidents. When things hit the fan, it is a group of guys and gals who want to go and be the ones to take care of business just because they want to and for no other reason. We do have our trainings twice a month. Outside of those trainings, there's a lot of free time that you have to spend being ready and staying ready. Staying on top of your physical fitness isn't something that we get paid for, but something we have to do. Staying on top of our shooting, on top of our hands-on skills. These are all things that we have to put ourselves through on our own time just because we want it, and that's what we want to do. So when we started the year out and we made this big push for leadership, that's where it came from, is leading by example, being the person who's willing to do these things because you know it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you bring up leadership, and you bring up leadership on the team, but I think it's important. Andy brings up, you have multiple SWAT guys on your shift. Alex, I know that you also have multiple SWAT guys in your shift. We're not talking about just leadership in the terms of, well, I have rank or I can tell this guy what
Correct.
to do. We're talking about just the simplistic leadership can be, we're on patrol and there's a critical incident that comes up. The tactical element, the SWAT guys are the ones that really the shift is leaning on. How do we solve this? Where is that coming from? And that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're going to get looked to first. When we talk about leadership, it's almost the opposite of rank and structure. When we talk about leadership, we talk about leading up, down, side to side. We don't believe in strictly top-down leadership. We actually push against that. Especially for our team and in the group of guys that show up for training every other week, it's not going to do anybody any good if we only believe in top-down leadership. Mm-hmm. We actually just implemented, to go back to an earlier question, we just implemented assistant team leads again. It was an idea that we had from before, and we brought it back, and two of the three that were selected were from Dunn County, and one of the three that was selected was in-house at the police department. One of the main reasons each of them was selected was because of the leadership qualities that they showed across the board, one of which being Deputy Carney out of Dunn County. We saw him taking some guys on his shift down to the range before their shift started. He's a firearms instructor, so just for the sake of wanting to get those around him better at shooting, he's donating his time before they're getting on, before they're getting paid. Deputy Brost, also from Dunn County, every time he comes to a training, he's locked in and he's leading by example, and he's making sure that with a military background, we got to pick on him a little bit yesterday when we were talking about some of these things. But one of the things that stood out to me the most is when I was making a mistake. And if we talk about our structure, we say, well, I have the rank because I'm a team leader. He felt completely comfortable pointing out flaws and mistakes that I had one day when we were conducting a training. And that was the moment that I knew. I was like, this is exactly what we need. This is what we need to understand as a team, is we have to be okay with this across the board and maintain this open line of communication where there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any reason that we can't all discuss anything and everything at one time. And watching that room change over the course of the past few months as we're trying to implement that has been a beautiful thing. I don't think there's been a and this is saying that some of my two favorite people from the SWAT team are sitting across from me right now, just at the time. But this is a different group that we have now. It's a lot different than what we have. We have a group of guys who show up and they're serious and they're ready to work, and man, the ambition that we're seeing flow out of that room now is something I haven't seen before, and man, I'm proud.
That is totally awesome, because I've been out of the SWAT world for a little while. Matty, you stepped away a little bit too. But just being able to step back and watch that evolve, and you guys take it up to that next level. Using the Boy Scout mentality that you never leave a place worse than you found it. You guys are picking up where it's at, and you guys are taking it to a different level. And it even goes so much so back, and we can maybe even do a deeper dive on the more recent call that we had over the summer here with the shots fired. Maybe we can draw some stuff out of that. But when we were sitting back there at the command truck, I don't know if you had the same feeling there, Matty, but just watching you guys work and watching stuff, just knowing it was in good hands, and that we've kind of retired out of that role, but knowing that you guys are taking it very serious, and then understanding the importance of that bi-directional leadership, and that everybody plays an integral part in ensuring that you're just maintaining your competency on all the tactical stuff. Because ultimately, in Southwest North Dakota, we are it. For Southwest North Dakota, 44,000 square miles of Southwest North Dakota. We've been into Montana before. The edge of the earth does exist. It's an Eᴑɪsᴏᴅᴇ of Montana. That's where the edge of the earth is at. We were down there. But if it's not for us, I mean, all the other smaller agencies are looking up to us. So it's really comforting to know that it's in good hands right now.
Well, and that's absolutely the only reason that we even have the opportunity, and this isn't strictly to flatter you guys, but it is believing in trying to leave something better than you found it. If the team, by the time I turn it in, if they're not ready for me to leave so that they can get someone else in who can move faster and quicker and get the team progressing quicker, then I didn't do my job. And I think that's exactly the mentality that both of you had when you had it. So the only reason that we are where we're at is because we were teed up with the opportunity from prior leadership who believed in some of these same fundamentals.
I think if anybody who is sitting here listening to the kind of the pep talk that Alex just gave, if you didn't get a sense of the passion, these are the people that, like we talked about, they're not getting anything additional. They're already doing a dangerous job, and now these are the people that are volunteering to do an even more dangerous job, which is being the tip of the spear when things are going bad. The one piece of recruiting tool that I always had as a team leader, as a team commander, was, what did you get into this career field for? Because SWAT in this region, we've been to Bismarck, we've been up to Williston, we've been to Eᴑɪsᴅᴅᴇ. If the cops or the deputies need help, who are they calling?
Team.
They're calling the team. They're calling our team. And there was always a sense of pride. And in all of my years, I finished 12 years successfully on the SWAT team. And I can't even tell you, some of the best times I had was exactly what Alex was describing, which was you had a group of individuals that were doing something for the collective good, for just nobody else, but just a sense of duty and a sense of pride that they were becoming better and that they were doing something. And I think what you guys are doing is fantastic. We're extremely proud of you guys. I think that the two of you guys have just been absolutely fantastic, stepping up into your guys' leadership roles. I really do think you talk about two guys that walk the walk and talk the talk. We could go all the way into your guys' tack games and what you guys are willing to put your bodies through just voluntarily, just to battle test yourselves. But this is the kind of people that you guys are. You know, you're not somebody, neither one of you two are the ones that are going to take the easy road. You're going to take the right path. And I think that's why we're here today chatting with you guys. And we just wanted to kind of give a glimpse into the listeners of what is SWAT, why do we have SWAT, and then to just draw some attention because, yeah, SWAT, we're always looking for resources. We're always looking for bodies. I don't think that Alex or Andy would shy away if they said, after this episode, they were like, well, what do you think SWAT needs? What could you guys use? I don't think they would shy away from that conversation. So we just wanted to kind of bring some awareness, what it is that we're capable of, what it is the team is. I think it would be fantastic to have you guys on again and maybe just go deep dive into some of the scenarios and we just talk about some stuff and how it's processed and how you guys learn from even just past scenarios and trainings and things like that. But I think this has been great.
Yeah, I think you do have to briefly touch though on the tactical games because I got some pictures. I got to do an overlay on why you guys are talking about that.
We did those pictures just for you too.
I appreciate it, and they turned out spectacular.
You got to buy a special picture package. And we said, you know what, Lieutenant Hal's going to want these. That's so actually the call out that you referred to with the shots fired. We were about to Billings, Montana, on our way to the tactical games.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And I was still on task force at the time, so I had my work phone. I could pull up our call log and I could see the calls. And if you were to be if I were to have a camera in that car, I feel so bad for Andy because I was driving and I'm watching the log go and I see like shots fired and I'm starting to get prepared to turn around and drive really fast on the way back. I know we're a long ways away, but you have the both of us. We're both in leadership roles on the team. We're both snipers on the team. We both want to be there for obvious reasons, and I was very upset. I was like, there's someone shooting at our team, and we're 4.5 hours away on our way to go work out and shoot guns, and it was just it was a very emotional drive out there.
But tell us a little bit about the games. What was that about? What motivated you guys to want to go attempt that?
Last year, Alex and I both competed in the tactical games at Utah. I believe it was Fairfield, Utah, just outside Salt Lake City. What a blast that was. That was a good time. It's a culmination of shooting with some physical events. You got to lift some stuff. You got to carry some stuff. You got to run a bit. We both have a passion for shooting. We both have a passion for fitness. And we found a way to challenge ourselves by combining the two. And then like-minded people are also there to see how you stack up against others. Friendly competition is always wanted. So, yeah, it was both our first times doing it. Mm-hmm. It was quite a blast.
We want to do it again too. We might do a team event, do it together this year. See how good we can be when you put us together.
Yeah.
But it's doing sled drags and throwing sandbags around and climbing ropes. I mean, we're maxing our heart rate out and then laying down trying to shoot a small paper target a long ways away.
Well, it's kind of like when we talked about your guys' PT test, which was different from the academy one. You said it's very job specific. So it's just like, well, I guess, when somebody thinks about what SWAT's doing, I guess that's what they think of. They think of that, and you guys tried to maximize it and see how far could you push your body, how far can you go with it. So yeah, it was interesting to hear. Especially Andy gave me some of his feedback. I got to hear that story right out of Andy's mouth. The drive to Billings, the drive going there.
That was a rough drive.
It was. It was. I needed an emotional outlet, and I had Andy sitting to my right, who unfortunately had to be that outlet for a lot of anger. But that's kind of the point of all of it is you want to be there, and the call came in, and we believe that there's an individual shooting at the SWAT team. It's like those are the same people that we train with every week. I don't want somebody shooting at the SWAT team.
Yeah.
Stop shooting at my team and let's turn around. Let's drive back. Let's get there. And, but it is. It's the critical incident happens, and you want to be there.
Yep. So I got one more question before we jump into the last project here. For each of you, you guys each can answer this thing separately, but we'll start with Andy. You've tried to be more quiet in this thing. We'll start with Andy, and we'll say, what is the one quality that's going to make the best tactical operator? So they're already a police officer. What is the one quality you're looking for someone to get onto the SWAT team?
Right out of the bat, I like to think of humility, because anybody can come up with a great idea. It doesn't have to be the leader that has to come up with a great idea. We are in the team leader role and adjusting to that new position. But if Officer Mauser has a great idea, like, I don't need to steal his thunder. He had the good idea. Let's just roll with that. Other people have ideas as well and should probably be heard.
Yeah, great. How about Alex?
As far as the leadership philosophies go, we're all very familiar with Jocko and extreme ownership, but I lean on that a lot. Being able to take ownership of a problem, no matter what it is, no matter how we feel about it. We leave our ego at the door, and if mistakes were made, we own it, and we can try to get better from it that way. If I have to sit and defend my position, I'm not going to get better. I'm not going to help anybody else get better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's perfect. I mean, I always looked for, when I was looking from trying to recruit people, I just looked for somebody who had a thirst for wanting to be better. You know, I think that those qualities you guys talk about mixed with somebody who's eager is exactly what we have. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what makes this team perfect, is you just get these guys that want to hold themselves to a higher standard or don't have an ego. They check their ego at the door. There's no rank in it. They're there trying to just solve difficult problems as a group of individuals.
And then it trickles down, because then you have an entire department that's operating like that. So, which is a good plug. So, anybody else is watching out there, we got the 2 spots open. If you want to join a family here that's full of Alex's and Andy's here, we're the place. We got it. Because of their efforts, I think we're a department to be sought after.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to let Mikey jump in and kind of give you guys. You guys have had a prop in front of you here. It was concerning enough to them that they brought it up immediately when they sat down. So I'm going to let Mikey go through, kind of explain the process here, and then I'll be the narrator.
So instead of speed cuffing, which is usually just an individual kind of rapid fire, get to know them in a short amount of time, we're going to do the same thing that we did with Jesse and Taylor here, the quick draw challenge. So it's going to be a series of, how many questions I got? About 10 questions or so. So we're just going to, Matt's going to ask them. If you know the answer, you're going to key in. The gurgles means you got it, and so I'll try to keep track of who buzzes in first. And we'll just go through. We got a tiebreaker at the end if we go there, but
this is where we're gonna have to test your editing skills.
I think so. All right, let's give it a shot here.
All right, gentlemen, you ready to go?
Absolutely.
First question: what is the term for a weapon that can be shot right or left-handed?
That looks like Alex.
Ambidextrous.
There you go.
Second one, what is the name of the court case that allows officers to conduct a pat-down of people suspected to be armed and dangerous?
It's Andy.
Fairview, Ohio.
You got it.
Yeah.
What real-life city in Gotham City is Gotham City and Batman compared to?
Be Alex.
New York.
Yeah.
Between the ATF, DEA, and FBI, what agency is the oldest?
Alex again.
FBI.
How many possible clues are there on the walk and turn field sobriety test?
Ooh, that's another Alex.
I feel bad taking this one away from you. It's our DRE, but there's 6.
There's 6?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, so fight with the steel.
The DPD celebrates its 125th anniversary this year. Can you tell me the month and day of our birthday? We're going to phone a friend. We'll phone a friend and we'll give this one to Lieutenant Handel here.
You want to guess?
October 3rd.
October 3rd?
I couldn't guess if I wanted to.
July 31st. So yeah, we'll be celebrating our 125 July 31st here this year.
Per North Dakota Century Code, what class of motor vehicle is a tow truck?
This just came up in conversation. I think this is intentional. He did it on purpose. Is it considered is there a class B?
You got it, class B.
Look at that.
What does the acronym SWAT stand for?
That would be
Special Weapons and Tactics.
It's your radio.
My radio on.
What brand of expandable baton do we issue here at the DPD?
That one is Andy.
Ask.
Yeah.
What is the minimum number of recertification hours for a North Dakota peace officer? This goes off of 3 years, remember.
That'd be Alex.
60.
Yeah. And I think that's what we got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 to
I think Andy.
6 to 3.
I think Andy got smoked here by a faulty radio, possibly. But great job. Thanks, fellas, for having us on.
Yeah, it's really good again to just to have such professionals in the midst of us here. So I appreciate what you guys do, and you keep at it. Proud of you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys
Thank you.
having us. Yeah.
Make sure to subscribe to our podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, any place you get your podcasts. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And tune in, Channel 19. We'll catch you guys next month.